Welcome back. It is 9:22. In the new gorgeous book, Homecoming, dreamer, DACA recipient Margarita Quiñones-Peña tells of her journey crossing the U.S.-Mexico border on Halloween night, 1993, at just the age of 3 with her then pregnant mother and a 4-year-old sister. So her journey is one that she shares with hundreds of other children of migrants, whether they were brought here decades ago or are children of the migrants who are now arriving in Chicago by the thousands. Margarita Quiñones-Peña joining me now with more on her story this morning. Good morning. It's so nice to have you in here.
Thank you so much for having me.
This book is beautiful. I wish you guys could see us. Tell us a little bit about what made you do this.
Yeah, so I came here when I was 3 years old, and for the majority of my life, including my adulthood, I didn't know my story. I just assumed that it was a beautiful story as I remember it, a beautiful journey as a kid to get to my father. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, right pre-pandemic, when my mother first told me about all the hardships and how difficult it truly was crossing the border.
You had no idea.
No idea. I just, there's a lot of shame and guilt that comes with it for a long time. And finally being able to face it, and then hearing her story, I realized there's no shame here. It took a community, it took an entire village to get us out here to make this trip to be finally home with my family. And now that I see all these asylum seekers here, all the children here, like, we need something to celebrate this. We need to see ourselves in these books in a positive light. We didn't commit any crimes. All we did was follow our heart and our family home.
And you know what's interesting is this isn't something you just whipped up overnight. You've been working on this for a while, but probably inspired by what's recently been happening. How long did it take you to put this together?
About 3 years. So it was 3 years ago when I first started the project, and it was a Mother's Day gift from my mother. And she's the one that asked me to please just don't publish this, don't make this, you putting yourself in a lot of exposure, a lot of, and it's just less shame and more just worry for what's out there and how that could be perceived.
Wow.
And finally we're here where I had to do it. There's children here that need to see that.
Well, I love it. And the book is in both Spanish and English. And so we were talking in the commercial break. You came here when you were 3 years old.
That's right.
And you are still undocumented. Explain, because I don't think people understand that. Explain that. How can that be?
That's right. So there has been, since DACA was first passed in 2012 by Barack Obama's executive order, after that you have to make a choice. Either you're going to be a dreamer or you're going to apply through sponsorship. Can't do both. And so for me, as a software engineer, I don't have the luxury of doing both. I have to have my job. And most dreamers have this choice, and most of us choose the protection of deportation over the freedoms that come with being a citizen eventually.
So when you hear about what's happening with people who are here now, and you can drive by the police stations and see them sitting outside, what does that do to you as someone who's been there and really done that?
Oh my gosh, so my first book reading was at one of the centers to the children there. They were my main audience, and they're who I wanted to get the approval first before publishing this, and seeing their faces light up when they see the bus and they say things like, me too, or I was on that I was on that CTA bus. It's just like, that is just the reassurance that I needed for like how important this is, how important the narrative is, but also how important it is for them to see that there is other options, that this is not the end of it all.
So what do you say to them to give them hope? Because, you know, if you're reading this book and they can relate to it, what do you try to do? What words of encouragement do you give?
Keep on going. Do not give up, and do not listen to everything around you. You can make anything out of anything. I mean, we are here in this country to make better of ourselves. This is the reason our parents brought us here. And laws change, come and go. But your drive and your will and your hard work and ethic never go anywhere. So
unbelievable. 30 years, you're still undocumented. Okay, you said your mother was worried. She was afraid.
Yeah.
When she said, don't publish this book. How does she feel now?
She's immensely proud. And I think that there is that confusion sometimes between the difference between undocumented versus illegal. And I am undocumented, but I'm fortunately, gratefully, legally here now through the DREAM Act. And so it's that parent worry that we all are familiar with, you know, of always wanting to protect our children. The reason she even brought me here in the first place. So that's where that came from. But once she realized the impact this has had on other children, the way that we've been able to give back to these communities, she's like, this is the most necessary thing, and she's proud.
Because the proceeds for this,
100% proceeds go right back.
Wow. Okay, Margarita, what a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you
and
so
the book
much for
is
the
beautiful.
time.
Again, it's called Homecoming. And what's the website that people can go to get it?
HomecomingShy.com. You can purchase a book, you can donate directly to the mutual aid funds, and you can also share your story to us.
Well, your story is a beautiful story. We appreciate you sharing
Thank
with us.
you so much.
You take care.
Thank you for the time.
Okay, we'll be right back.